This video will be about two subjects. The first one is how to post an image or group of images onto the internet for the purpose of storing them somewhere where they won't get deleted easily. This isn't as good as archiving, but it's pretty good. You basically hit New Post, and when you do that, you have the option of picking a file from your computer, a file from the internet, as long as it's an image URL without any complexity to it. You also can do a meme generator, video to GIF, and you can also sign in and set up an account to where you have your own images. After you've uploaded, you're allowed to annotate it. You can drag multiple images in here by just throwing it on here as a landing spot. In this case, I'm doing one image, so I'm not going to do multiple images. Anyway, this one's about Mike Brown, Planet 9, and Orion. But anyway, when you get done doing your meme or posting or whatever, you can tell it to share it to community. You can change the topic method. You can embed the post. You can also, depending on, I don't know if it does it anymore, but it used to let you have an email address you could type in, so you get a link. You can come back here and edit it later. The site's getting used a lot, so they may change their behavior. Your mileage will vary. So we're going to do the last part of this video about it, but anyway, the URL at the top, you have to grab it. And if you log out of your web session or clear your cookies, you can't come back here and edit it. And as time goes on, it's harder and harder to edit the thing. And if you include links down here like I did, it's better than 50-50 shot it won't work. So when you paste them in here, paste them in as a perfectly formatted set of lines or one long string, but make sure that the URLs, the web page links, are separated by hitting enter. Otherwise, it just doesn't want to cooperate. Now we're going to do the second part of the video here. Mike Brown said Planet 9 is here, I think, maybe, or close at least. And he was pointing almost only half-jokingly right there at Orion, if you look at the image. I'm going to include a link to that image and a bunch of other stuff here. Well, I couldn't just give you just imgur.com/A for album /H lowercase k 8n capital T. Because I've said that to you, I can send you the information about that. It'll work. You can also run this through archive.org and archive.s, and you can probably keep backup copies of this information. That means that it won't be able to be deleted if you do so. And I will do that below in the video description, of course. And I may even add it in to this posting. 2016, April 5th, 6:51, I think it was 6:51 a.m., or it could have been p.m., at plutokiller, that's what Mike Brown calls himself. He posted on Twitter, and I've included in the image here, the meme I'm building here, the archive.is or IL or ILI or today or whatever you want to call it, and also his Twitter link. And it was stated 7175 yada 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 yada. Anyway, that was him saying Planet 9 is here, I think, maybe, or close at least. He was only kind of half joking, but this is where that meme comes from of it being visible somewhere around Orion. It's also supposed to be plus or within a 2,000 degree square of area. Look up degrees. I'm not sure if that's a direct or correct quote. So let's go through this. That's all he posted on that day about that. Then I'd like to point out that July 5th and July 23rd, these postings happened concerning Science News Magazine, volume 190, number 2, page 7, and/or posting by Christopher Crockett, 7 a.m. on the other day. Orbital periods, and this is an excerpt. Orbital periods of 6 bodies are roughly synced up to one another. The most distant one, the dwarf planet Sedna, goes around the sun 5 times in about the same amount of time that its neighbor, I can't pronounce it, whatever, completes 8 orbits. Such synchronized orbits usually hint at some gravitational link among the bodies, but these minuscule worlds are too tiny to affect one another, suggesting there's a more massive culprit. This is where the idea for Planet 9 comes from. At least 10 times as massive as the Earth, it would be a requirement, or, and I'm going to insert this, or a bunch of other bodies that are about that same mass in close proximity, or orbiting in some other way, or some other thing. We don't know. Anyway, orbiting the sun once every 17,000 years would be in sync with the four of these bodies, not all of them. Such and such and colleagues find. So that puts Planet 9 on average about 100 billion kilometers from the sun, or roughly 666 times the distance between the sun and the Earth. I'm just joking there. I might even put it in our. I might just use 665. Anyway, its orbit is highly stretched and tipped by about 30 degrees relative to the rest of the solar system. taking it well above and below the orbits of the 8 known worlds, and right now it's probably near its furthest point from the Sun, possibly 250 billion kilometers away, in a large patch of sky around the constellation Orion. As Brown and Battiang think they've narrowed it down to roughly 2,000 square degrees of sky. Please find out what the square root of that is. That's not as horrific as it might imagine. The Subaru telescope in Hawaii is large enough to detect it and could cover that area in about 20 nights. So it would do, I guess it would do 100 degrees width every night. It's a big task, or a big ask, but it's a reward, and basically they're kind of openly saying, please Subaru telescope of Hawaii, just search that area and see if you can find it. Because they obviously, they don't own a giant telescope. Next, we investigate the prospects for the capture of a proposed Planet 9 from other stars in our Sun's birth cluster. This is the meme of us having a twin star and Planet 9 is orbiting them. Any capture scenario must satisfy 3 conditions if this were to be true. The encounter must be more distant than 150 astronomical units. Okay, well, 665 astronomical units is good. This would avoid perturbing the Kuiper belt, so obviously if it wasn't that far out or more, it would mess with the Kuiper belt and it wouldn't be what we're seeing today. The other star must have a wide orbit planet at 100 AU, and the planet must be captured on the appropriate orbit to sculpt the orbital distribution of a wide orbit solar system bodies. Those are really, really oddly specific and yet vague at the same time requirements. Drunk bicyclists rolling by, clanging their bells. Anyway, that's the video about Plutokiller and his meme, and that's the origin, as far as I can tell, the origin story for where this, you can just look up at Orion and you'll see it any day now. That's not exactly what he said. In fact, that's not what he said. And look up the square root of 2,000 to find out how many degrees by how many degrees this area is. Or is it square? You decide. Anyway, thanks for watching. Have a good day. And I wish everyone a great deal of luck with that.